like to start the city council meeting for the city of Eldridge, Iowa on Monday, November 20th at 7 p.m. Roll call.
Cheek,
Present.
Blackwell,
Present.
Peters,
Present.
Collins,
Present.
Zachary.
Present.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 3, approve the agenda. Make the suggestion that we move 5 in place of 4 and 4 in place of 5, and that we pull 7B for more information.
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended.
Motion by Peter, second by Dockery to amend the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Number 5, consideration to approve the council minutes for the November 6, 2023 meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the November 6th meeting.
Second that.
Motion by Cheek, second by Blackwell to approve the council meeting minutes for November 6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. 5B, consideration to approve the bills payable. Does anybody have any questions on the bills payable this evening?
I went all the way through and everything looked good. I had one question that Martha's gonna check into with the Obscenes. So there's one on our bills payable, but there's actually 2 in the receipt, so we're gonna look for clarification, see if that's doubled up from last week or make sure it's right.
Okay, anybody else have any answer? Go hear a motion to approve the bills payable.
So moved.
Motion by Peter, second by Dockery to approve the bills payable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Number 4, public comment. Is there anybody in the crowd tonight that has something to say that's not on the agenda this evening? You can go ahead and stand up there and state your name. Now, anybody, just to let you know, we adopted some rules, so everybody has 2 to 3 minutes to say whatever they'd like to address the council.
My name is Cindy Sisler. I'm sure everyone is aware that my husband Joe Sisler has been put on paid leave. I wanted just to share, Joe has been a police officer for almost 27 years. You guys know what that means? He willingly puts his life on the line to protect ours. 27 years. And I feel as though he was treated as a criminal when the mayor and the city administrator took his badge, took his gun, asked him not to speak to his officers, and had him leave his department. His name has been slandered since then. And he loves this community. He has given his heart and soul to this job. And I just don't understand how he can be treated the way that he is treated. He has saved people's lives. He has helped people. I just pray that, the truth will come out and the facts will come out, and that's my hope.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything else to say?
How we doing?
Could you say your name, please?
I'm Dylan Jones. I am Joe's son. I just wanted to come here because discovering everything, obviously. My mother just talked, so it was kind of hard to watch her go through that stuff. And then being around Joe and him being at home feeling unwanted, uncomfortable to be in his home city. That when he took this job, he made an oath to himself that he's gonna make it the best that he can. And, it's very hard to see, especially your, North Scott Times guy taking a photo of my mom while she's giving her speech, because we know how that's gonna go. But for him to be slandered in the New York Times, to kind of be put in, a very negative light is very tough to see, because media, they have a sense of power, keyboard warriors, I guess, which is very unfair. But it's very tough to see because obviously he is a parent. He has 2 daughters, 4 granddaughters, and for them to see and hear their own father and grandfather being slandered and treated the way he is very tough to see. Especially for my daughter, she's gonna be 7. He's been in her life since she's been, I think, probably a couple months old. So to watch one of your own family members get thrown under the bus and treated the way they have been, especially the amount of times that he misses his officers, would like to talk to his officers, feels uncomfortable to go outside his own house. And he's given years to the city. And it's just mind blowing to see a city turn their back on somebody that is willing to lay their life down for any of you. And for people to turn their back on somebody that will give anything to protect every single one of you from anything that happens in this city. And it's tough. It's very tough to watch and to see, because he's a very fairly like lively guy to be able to watch Packers games. Granted, the Packers aren't doing well, but he's usually joyful to be able to watch some football and stuff. And it's not even the same, because he's given so much to this community, and a majority of you have turned your back on him. He's not a yes man and never will be. He's a guy that does it by the book, and people don't like that. And unfortunately, that's the way things work. There are rules for a reason, and he follows them to a T. For a prime example, I remember one time I was driving by Whitey's on that road going towards my parents' house. It's a 25-mile-an-hour street. And I think I was going about 28, and he was pulling out, and he like hit me with the lights, and then he called me. I answered on the Bluetooth, not on my actual phone, but he called me. He's like, "Hey, slow it down." And I was only going like 2, 3 over. Like, I didn't think I was, but I got hit. That's all I needed. So that just kind of goes, like, it doesn't matter if you're family, not family, whoever it is, either you follow the rules or you don't. It's that simple. He does it by the book. That's what it is. And he's a great guy that's going to defend as many people as possible to make sure you guys are all safe. And so when people turn their backs on somebody that does that, it's very sad to see, especially a veteran who spent years devoting his time over across seas and experiencing some of the things that he's experienced and given his life and everything like that to defend all of you guys and everything like that. And people just turning their back and try to slander him and put him in misquotes and all that kind of stuff and put it in your North Scott Times and all that kind of stuff is very unfair, especially since he can't be here to speak for himself. So it's almost like beating somebody when they're down, which is a little cowardly, to be honest. And he's a great individual that deserves the respect and appreciation that he's not getting. And it's very tough to see, especially with the holidays rolling around and everything like that. I can see him not really enjoying some of that because he loves what he does. He loves being here to support you guys and defend you guys and put on the events that he does and all that kind of stuff, obviously with the help of his other officers and all that kind of stuff in the community. a lot of the stuff that has transpired in this community and stuff, him putting on the national night out, the golf outings and stuff like that. I don't think that's been done. I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is somebody that's lazy, that comes to work every day, make sure his guys are taken care of, and make sure everybody in the city is taken care of, and he's not messing around with that. Is he, all of your lives and everybody's safety matters to him. And so when everybody turns their cheek towards somebody like that and throws somebody under the bus like that and makes them sound like a criminal is pretty sickening. And I hope a lot of people all go home and maybe take a look in the mirror a little bit, maybe readjust their thinking and their thoughts and stuff. Because that's not okay. Because I guarantee a lot of you would probably not like that if people try doing that to one of your loved ones or somebody that devotes themselves to saving other people's lives, protecting others. And for him to get slandered and treated like a criminal, I guarantee you none of you would go for that if it was one of your family members. But it's not. So it's easier for some people to kind of dismiss that. But he also has, like I said, daughters and granddaughters that see this, which is completely unfair because they know that's not who he is. And the fact that he's getting put in that kind of category, that he is a criminal, is absolutely, it's mind blowing. So I hope some of you guys maybe take a time to maybe look in the mirror, figure some things out, but this is a man that's done a lot for all of you and is willing to do a lot for all of you. And all that matters is making sure that his community, those of you, your kids, husbands, wives, daughters, sis, everybody is taken care of. That everybody is able to play along their block and have a good time. So I hope some of you guys maybe take a minute to think about that stuff when you get home, that this is a man that's done great things and cares about this community immensely. And I'm a football coach at a different school. He would go to a North Scott game before he'd probably come to mine because he loves North Scott, okay? And so for him to, so I hope you guys maybe, reconsider some things. So I appreciate it.
Does anybody else have anybody? Yeah. Timer on.
Okay, my timer.
All right.
I'll keep mine short. Matt McLean, I'm also here in support of Joe Sisler. I have the wonderful privilege of knowing this family, an incredible family. I work with Dylan, we coach together. And Cindy has been wonderful to me in my business. I come from a small town, lived in the Quad Cities for 15 years. So I understand small towns. Elders is a great community. In fact, I hope to move my fiance and I out here soon. I love this area. I love this community. Being from a small town, I've witnessed this before. You have people in place that do their jobs and do them well with respect and reverence, but also have the capability, in the example that Dylan said, to hold their own accountable. That doesn't come around very often. Unfortunately, we're in an age of men where respect is no longer given. So when you have respectful people in your community that are leading you, not dividing you, that are providing you, not taking from you, I think it's an absolute shame that this man is being drugged, slandered for no merit, to be walked out of an office like a criminal who he has only done anything but to be his entire life. I am honored to know the man. I'm honored to know this family. Please see it in your hearts to recognize the hard work, dedication that he's provided, and ask yourselves this: if not him, who? Because it's not getting any better. I'm only 34 years old, but the age group underneath me isn't getting better. All right? If you're thinking about replacing this man, ask yourself, with who? Will it be better without him? Will your community be safer without him? Would it have been for the last X amount of years that he's dedicated to you? A man who could have gone a lot of different places, accepted a lot of different jobs, been in your community, served this community. Okay? I just want you to remember that. before we drag somebody through the mud over things that are completely false. Remind yourself of this. This used to be a place where you're innocent until proven guilty. But now the second that something like this happens, it doesn't matter how innocent he proves himself. You're gonna have people all around him forever saying that he did X, Y, and Z for no apparent reason. And that's not fair and that's not right. So do what's right, consider that, and I thank you very much for your time.
My name's Randy Swans and I live at 808 South 8th Street in Eldridge. Just wanted to tell a little story about Joe. So he was my neighbor, lived down the block, a few blocks, and we got to know each other a little bit over the course of the past 7 years. And I thought pretty highly of the man, but about 2 years ago, I got home from work and was in the kitchen and my wife was in the family room and an undercover squad car goes down 8th Street going south. And I said to my wife, I said, an undercover squad car just went down the road with the lights and siren on. And my wife said, something's going on with Asher. Then my daughter and son-in-law and 2 grandkids live down the street. And so we jumped in the car and Asher at that time was 1 and he had some ear issues going on and he was seizing. And so when we had gotten there, Joe was the first person there. And he was on the ground or on the floor sitting next to Asher and trying to keep my daughter and son-in-law calm. And he's rubbing Asher's hand and rubbing his forehead and telling him he's going to be okay and okay. And pretty soon the paramedics got there and some other officers in the fire department. And he ended up being okay. But so anyway, I waited a couple of days and I called Joe and I said, I find it remarkable, you know, how quickly you had gotten there. And I'd also heard that you were actually not working at the time, you were off and you were actually heading to the gym to work out. And he said, you have to understand, to this police department, we get a phone call and that phone call is about a child. You know, we all have children and you just don't understand how much it touches us. And so I just find it hard to believe that this man that off duty and he was the first person there and trying to call my daughter and son-in-law and taking care of my grandson. And that's the person I know. So I don't know about all this slander. I don't read the North Scott Press. But I know he's a good man and I just hear things going on. And so I just wanted to tell you a little story about what I've seen personally of Joe's sister. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tisha Bushlow. Just ran for city council. I have 2 things actually. First one is Joe. A lot of people in the community are very well aware that one of my children is a recovering alcoholic. He had a very bad relapse this February, where he ended up in the hospital on a ventilator for 7 days. If it were not for the officers here, he'd probably be dead. And Joe was not working that night either, but he made a point to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning to tell me what had transpired. Every single day when I was up at that hospital, from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, Joe texted me, how's he doing? How's he doing? How's he doing? We also have to remember that Joe took over for a former police chief that was not certified on his handgun. We had a mess in the police department, missing records, things that weren't being kept locked up that should have been. So he's had a lot on his plate, a lot to deal with in a short amount of time. I guess that's all I want to say about, excuse me, about Joe. He's a very people person, people oriented. And that's the end of that for Joe. The second thing I just want to bring up real quick is I'm very disappointed in what I heard regarding the new vape shop coming in. I understand that the real estate agent in the very beginning of the process emailed the entire city council asking if there were any reservations or anything like that. Not one of you got back to him. Not one person responded back to him, but yet, you know, someone that we had one no vote against it, Well, before you ever had that vote, why was that person not contacted back? The whole reason I ran for city council, we need more transparency. I think we got new people in here that are starting to make change. And as far as, I don't know the ins and the outs of the investigation with Joe, but I believe our new people are trying to be transparent, but we still have a ways to go and we have some work to do on this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I'm Matt Wadlow and I'm just here to support Joe. He's a good friend of mine. Don't really know a lot of what's going on. I don't watch the news, don't read the papers for obvious reasons, but reconsider everything, guys. Look at the man. Thank you.
First time I've been in front of you guys, gals. I've been here over 50 years. I love this town, and to Nevada, I want to be buried in this town. That's how much I love this town.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you want to state your name for the council?
Scott Payson, sorry. But I'd like to talk a little bit about Joe the man and the things I've seen him do, but I don't want it to end there. I had a nice conversation with two of the leaders of Bettendorf. They talked so highly of your new city administrator. Eldridge has got to shape up. We are not that little country town anymore. We have to teach our employees different things. We have to be important to give them a training program where you can help them get through some situations. I've heard it referred to at breakfast at Tasty's many mornings about Eldridge being Mayberry RFD. And I'm sorry, we look that way sometimes. We don't take things with the proper perspective. Nobody's got to have a college education. Nobody's got to wear sport coats. But we have got to class up our act. I think we are starting to do some of those things. But if you just go back, and I'm not going to list it tonight, but go back 4 years, name all the thievery, name all the employees. Would you want your 30-year-old son or daughter to come work for Eldridge, Iowa? I don't think you would. Two of you I've asked that question to, and both of you said no. How do we change what's been happening here for about the last 4 or 5 years? We are doing some wonderful things here in this town. We are in the road of tremendous progress. If we could just get rid of our reporter with the North Scott Press, we'd be in good shape. Because we've got to be telling our public the truth and not balloon it up. And we have got to do a better job of that. Every one of you I've known, some of you I've known since you were a little kid, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the job we're trying to do. But we have not, this is not the way to teach our kids about how we treat somebody that's been a valuable employee to ourselves. We have got to figure a way to look better and not make this crap going all over the place. I'm sorry, but I'm embarrassed of what's been going on. And I think we need to treat people better. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Okay, we'll move on. One more, okay?
My name's Jesse Freeman, and I've known Joe 25 plus years. I grew up in a small town in Savannah, and he was a police officer up there. He was the only police officer that I trusted to go to with an issue to get it rectified because he did it by the book, by the law. Met him up with him down here, didn't realize he was a police officer down here. Still, if I have an issue with anything, he would be the person I go to always because he's an upstanding person. He does it by the book. And he will do anything to protect anyone legally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, my name is Daniel Reese. I've lived in, the area for about a year and a half. Grateful to be here. I have great respect for our police officers and our great respect for our department. I don't know both sides of the story, and so I'm not going to speak to that. But I do know Joe, and I appreciate his integrity and how he is torn up about this, and how his integrity is being attacked. And I don't think that's right. He's dedicated his life to service, whether that be in the military or as a police officer. And I have 3 little boys that I would have a hard time as their dad encouraging them to go into service when this is the stuff they have to deal with, you know, dedicating their lives to somebody and then being dragged through the mud, like has happened. And so I just want to encourage you to remember that he has served his community well. I've lived in a lot of small towns. This one is by far the best, and I think a big part of that is our police department, and they do a great job. And I just want us to continue to respect them and honor them the way they all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman behind you, then.
My name is Greg Freeman. I'm also here in support of Joe Sisler. Known Joe for about 5 years now. Met him through my wife. Joe was appointed as police chief of Eldridge for one reason, his leadership. His time in the military was the beginning of that. The Army defines leadership as the process of influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation to accomplish the mission and improving the organization. Ask yourself, has Joe Sisler done those things? Has he provided purpose? Has he provided direction? Has he provided motivation while accomplishing the mission and improving the organization, both of the police department and the city of Eldridge? Thank you.
Thank you.
Resident of Eldridge, been here for 10+ years. Love the community. Haven't loved some of the things I've seen in the community. Happen to be very good friends with the alderman, Geneseo. So you know where that turned out. It doesn't look like you guys did your research very well. Because you got rid of her. Joe, I'm here for him. Personally, I look at him as a man of huge integrity. I personally have had a son-in-law who got a speeding ticket from Joe and told him, don't speed. But I also had one of his officers come to my house at 2:15 in the middle of the night because I had just got home from work and he saw my garage door open, knocked on the door to make sure I was safe and nothing was stolen. That's above and beyond Call of Duty. But I told Joe, thank you for that. He goes, I coached the guys to look out for the citizens of their town. And so they were looking out for me. So when you look at integrity, you can't second guess Joe. I don't know both sides of the story of this legal issue, but if you want to shine a spotlight on someone, be careful, because that light's going to reflect back on you. And you're all servants, so I appreciate your service as well. But just remember, if you want to judge someone, be careful what comes back at you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak right now?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Wheeler. I am Joe's sister-in-law. I wasn't gonna say anything because I'm not a Eldridge family member, but Joe is our family. I don't know anything other than what everybody else has stated. The badge was taken, the gun was taken. It's like somebody just crushed his heart.
Crush my baby sister's heart. Oh, do wonderful, outstanding things for Eldridge community. They love the people here like they love us. Everything that's going on, I don't need to know. But I'm here to talk about Joe, and I'm gonna tell you one thing. If all this backfires and it proves that Joe has done everything that he should have done, could have done, I hope each and every person who is involved in this is man or woman enough to stand up to his face and apologize, shake his hand, and give him back his dignity, because I cannot tell you how hard this is on them. And how much damage is done by whatever words are being printed or said, because everybody knows it takes 10 positive to erase 1 negative. So how many hundreds of positives is owed to Joe when his actions or name or whatever is cleared? So I'm hoping somebody's ready to write a book for him. Please. Do what you have to do, but make sure you're fair, make sure it's clear, give him a chance to tell his side of the story, because there's always two. That's all I'm asking. And in the meanwhile, I'll keep each and every one of you, the city of Eldridge, and all those people here in prayer. But I will hold prayer for him and Cindy and his children and his grandchildren, his parents, even stronger, because it's a rippling effect. And you all know how bad a rippling effect can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the crowd?
Cindy Cowan. I've only known Joe for a little bit over a year because I've only been in Iowa for a little bit over a year. And we just really hit it off, he and my husband and Cindy. And I don't know that I've ever met a man with more integrity than Joe, to the extent that consider ourselves some of his best friends. And I don't even know what's going on because he was asked not to talk about this case, and he has not talked about it with his best friends. So all of us here that are supporting Joe don't know what Joe's side is, because he has the integrity not to talk about what he was asked not to talk about. But we feel so strongly that we know him, we know his moral integrity, that there's no way he could have done something that he's been accused of. Because we know Joe and we love Joe. And, you know, just like had Dylan said earlier, I mean, he joked around about like, oh, we better be careful and not speed in Eldridge because, you know, Joe's not gonna take care of our ticket for us because he's our buddy. You know, he holds to the law. There's no exceptions. I don't know how to say it. He's just such high moral character. I trust him. I believe him, even though he hasn't told me what's going on in the story because he was asked not to. And so to me, that's amazing because I think most people, especially someone with his character, he's dying to clear himself and to give his side of the story, but he's not because he was asked not to. So to me, that speaks volumes of his character, and I hope he gets a chance to do that before it's too late. So thank you.
Is there anyone else in the crowd? We'll move on. Number 6, consider approving and renewing the lease agreement between Scott County Library and the city of Eldridge, Iowa. Everybody had a chance to read through it? Have any questions for Nevada on that? It's based on rent only.
Well, I have got questions on the lease, on just updating, I talked to that a little bit today. Paragraph 2, rental, it's at 9% per year. Real world right now, 1.5% a month or 18% per year, which if we want to update that. Paragraph 3, possession, it's irrelevant because they're already tenants of the building. Paragraph 8B. I think that should be additional term of 5 years. Could be 25 years, and if they wanted another 5. See that where that's in there, Frank?
Yeah, yep.
You know, otherwise, the way this is printed, if you initial, this is a 50-year lease. Paragraph 10C, personal property taxes. We don't have personal property taxes anymore. They did when the initial lease was drafted. If we want to leave that in there, we should just make a note on there if property taxes is ever reactivated by the legislature, that they will pay them on their behalf. Paragraph 13, indemnity. I think we need to add in there that at least the landlord or the city is additionally insured.
Yeah.
Paragraph 14C. We need to put a note in there if damage is over 50%, it's the landlord's discretion to rebuild or not. So in other words, if a tornado comes through town, it's a total loss. We have the say so on if it's rebuilt or not.
So the last sentence says, but put 50% into that last sentence. 14C.
Yeah, if there's 50% or more damage.
Okay.
(16A), number 3. Talks about abandonment if they don't function for more than 15 consecutive business days. I think we need to add without pre-approval. I mean, if there's a storm that does come through in my initial scenario and it's closed for 3 weeks, by this, the way it's written, they'd be in default of the contract. But if they put in there, you know, let the city know, the city can approve that, because in all reality, it could take 30 days or 45 days, depending on the damage if it happened. I just don't want them to be in default of the lease if there is some major damage. 17, it's got the same 9% per annum, whether it's, we leave it at 9, 12, or even 18. I mean, like the first page. Just to be consistent. Paragraph 25, I didn't totally understand the last half of the second sentence. That you were gonna check on it. Did you find anything out on that?
I don't have an answer back,
Okay.
but I will get that to you.
And that's all the comments I have, Your Honor.
Okay,
My understanding is we'll come up with a draft, present it to the library board. They'll consider it, make changes. If they want to make changes, send it back to us. That could be.
You both, each board has a copy of this draft, that they can make changes, edits to, and then we'll put a final draft together for approval on those edits.
Okay.
With the understanding that this is just the next stage in the pursuit of finishing up the lease agreement with the library, I make a motion that we approve this portion of it as amended.
I'll second that.
motion by Peter, second by Dockery to approve the lease to the Scott County Library with the city as amended, and a clarification on number 25.
Yeah, should we put draft lease agreement? Because this isn't the final.
I think it's on the draft lease. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, ayes have it. Six B, consideration hiring a new patrol officer to fill a pending full-time vacancy for patrol officer. Andrew, I'll call on you on that.
Yeah, come first or second week, most likely the second week of December, we are gonna have an officer be resigning. He has taken a position with a bigger agency within Scott County. So that will open a full-time position for us in the police department. Looking for consideration to approve hiring that position upon completion of the hiring process. We're looking at doing testing January 6th. It's a Saturday. That will consist of the written and the physical agility test. And then obviously interviews and background checks to follow after that. I'm looking at hopefully having that process done end of January, beginning of February to hopefully fill that position. So just looking for approval to fill that over.
Questions for the Andrew, you know me.
Yep.
Is there a need for a full-time officer? Are we overstaffed by half of one now?
I think we're good. Especially with the way the schedules are now, especially going down an officer, the guys are gonna be picking up a little bit more hours. So I think once we get that filled, we'll be fine. If we can get that. I know we're allocated for that, so I'd like to at least get back up to that full-time status. That will help out the guys manpower wise and not overburden them.
I don't want to talk for you, Bruce, but I believe the safety committee feels that it's necessary to fill that position too.
Okay, I agree.
Must besides approval.
Just approval. I've already put out the announcement for the hiring list, which was approved at the last council meeting. So we are good on go. We're go on that, and that is live. So we've gotten, off the top of my head, I'd say probably around 20 applications so far. Some of them are certified. Some of them are certified out of state. So we're doing okay on that now. The problem we always run into and other departments are running into is you'll get 30 or 40 applications, but you're lucky if 10, 15 show up. And then we will have some that unfortunately do fail the testing. So that drops it down even further in the background and stuff like that. So, but we're doing okay right now. We're getting quite a bit of applications, which is good to see.
So in the process, we talked a couple of weeks ago, you're gonna create a list that's good for 1 year.
Correct. Yep. And we will hire off that list.
Okay.
There's no further questions. I can make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Collins to approve the hiring, create the list for a new patrol officer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Andrew, that's only if one resigns. You don't get to hire the next one.
Yeah, that's perfect.
7A, consideration and first reading of ordinance 2023-24, amending Title D, Chapter 3, floodplain management of the city of Eldridge, Iowa to adopt the new FEMA firm map panels to amend the requirements for the elevation of equipment as required by the DNR model ordinance. Jeff, can they call on you for that?
Yes, Mayor. In 2021, the city of Eldridge adopted a floodplain ordinance. During that time period, we adopted panels that the FEMA had created with firm maps as part of our ordinance that we would follow as far as the floodplain. 3 of those panels have been updated, and on April 11th will go into effect. At that point in time, they will replace 3 of the panels that are named in our ordinance. So those panels will no longer exist. The new panels will replace them. No floodplain has been changed within the city limits of Eldridge, but corners and pieces of Eldridge appear on these other map panels, which necessitates us to make the change and adopt them. At the same time, the local DNR people reviewed the rest of our ordinance, and there were a couple of minor changes dealing with furnaces and other mechanical equipment in basements, stating that they needed to be a foot above floodplain level. So there's minor changes in 2 parts of our ordinance dealing with equipment, and then another minor change that we actually in the original ordinance had a letter wrong that it referred it back to another part of the ordinance that needed updating. But that's the gist of it. Answer any questions if there's any.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Jeff, I mean, 2 of those maps, I didn't see where they impacted the city.
Correct.
The one that impacts down South First Street, all around the sewer plants. I questioned going up First Street if that's in the floodplain.
I was told that none of the floodplain within the city limits had changed on these maps, that it was listed as floodplain on these new maps was already listed as floodplain on the old maps.
Well, before we adopt these new maps, should we go back and make sure they haven't changed anything on them? I know at one time on Torrey Pines at 5th Street, on the north side of the street, where those houses are built, at one time FEMA had those in the floodplain.
Correct, and they did a low MAC and brought in fill and changed that, and they're not listed. We have letters from the DNR saying that they're not anymore.
But have they changed our map to reflect that?
Yeah, well, yeah, they should be on this new round. So, and again, I mean, these are, I mean, we really have no choice in the matter.
Oh, sure. We can question the maps.
We can question the maps.
We have until April.
Sure.
To approve this. I would like to table this till we compare the with the current maps to see if anything's changed for the positive or negative.
Sheriff Meadows is currently in the flood. Zoning asset.
I'd have to, I mean, this is all viewable in the Scott County Assessor's website, but I couldn't answer
Looking ahead,
specific questions without taking a look, so.
Well, maybe we could get all those maps and we can look at it and review it again at the next council meeting.
Sure.
So I have a motion to table. Do I hear a second?
Sure.
Right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? 7 nays table.
Until next meeting.
Till the next meeting. 7C. Approving a sidewalk assessment waiver for GTR Eldridge Property LLC Realco. Jeff, I'll call on you again for this.
Okay, again, there was a memo, I think, that laid this out pretty well. If I can answer specific questions, I can read you the memo, whichever would be more helpful here.
These are two different issues.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the sidewalks.
Let's talk about sidewalks first. I'm personally not opposed to granting a waiver, but at the time, like we have done with other businesses, at the time city deems the sidewalk necessary, the property owner has to put them in at their expense.
Correct. In the past, we've, required it to be recorded the last couple of meetings, so then we file a copy of that.
You know, same procedure as we've done the last couple of times.
Sure.
I mean, at some point in time, some of these areas will have to put in sidewalk. Depends on how it grows, because right now we get, well, if I have a sidewalk, it goes to nowhere. At some point in time, we're gonna have to look at that to make sure we have good transportation route for people on foot traffic around the community. Now, granted, the industrial area is not a high foot traffic, but with the bounce house and everything up there, it could be.
Yeah. The way this is laid out right now, they do have sidewalks starting at the offices on 14th Street, coming all the way down around the corner, where the proposed, development is warehouse expansion. Kind of stops at the fun station at the new parking lot. They do have internal sidewalks serving that pedestrian traffic. So, you know, kind of the way the wording of the ordinances that I highlighted was sidewalks are required in a public and municipal or commercial or industrial subdivision where pedestrian traffic is not otherwise served. I think they can make a pretty strong argument that pedestrian traffic is served in this case.
However, if that fun station ever goes away and an expansion is put on the east side of the building for more warehousing and truck terminals, we won't want foot traffic going through that parking lot. So I think we need to reserve the right to have them put it in if it's deemed necessary in the future or future councils.
Sure, and the waiver should protect us that way.
Hi, Dan.
I really had no problems with the sidewalks not going in on 16th Avenue and lot 4. Lot 8, however, I thought since it goes right up to where it does, I thought that was actually a good place to have a sidewalk. Because it joins with the other one and it comes up to the front, which there's, you know, once you cross the street, it's the bike path there. I didn't know if employees would walk the bike path and whatnot, and then they'd have to walk in the street before they could get back to the sidewalk. I felt that one should actually be put in there. But the other two, I could see reasoning why they wouldn't want to do it, and I didn't see the need for it at the time.
Talking about over by Rudy's.
Right.
And I guess that parking lot has a sidewalk going south out of it currently. You know, if this is an employee lot for them and their employees, which it is, they do have a sidewalk that goes south to their office building. Going out of that parking lot, it just doesn't extend north.
Councilman Collins, oh, sorry, what lot? Did you say lot 8 or?
Lot 8.
Yeah, I believe it's actually lot 6.
Yeah, I can't read.
Lot 6.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about. I just think that as well. I got crushed on that, maybe the possibility. Of some over there, Rudy's and service station. Maybe possibility just to benefit the employees.
Just for safety.
And
The other ones I could
their
see,
safety.
you know, it was really going, I understand where they're coming from. That's the only one I really had a question.
Okay.
But if we grant a waiver, and the time we pull the trigger, they have to put it in and pay for it. We're still.
For it. Right, they would still have to put it in. Right.
And there's a time frame for that too, but they have to put in a amount of time.
Just when we requested.
Yeah, and the city can put it in assess if needed.
Okay, problems with the waiver on the sidewalks if we do it similar to what we did in the
And then we record it at the county. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Dockery, second by Peters to approve the sidewalk waiver for GTR Eldridge property. With the filing will be done at the county. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays.
Nay.
For the record, it's 4-1. 7D, consideration approving a street assessment waiver for GTR Eldridge Property LLC, Realco. Jeff, can I call on you again for that?
Sure. I guess I have a slightly different opinion on this, as well as the staff that reviewed it. I'll just go ahead and read you this, portion of the memo. So our ordinances do say the streets, new subdivisions, which this is, being now developed slightly, in that southern lot, shall be designed to provide for the continuation of the existing and planned streets. In addition, the board or the council may require the provision of right-of-way, for the connection of proposed subdivision to any adjoining unsubdivided land. So when this subdivision was originally developed, a street waiver was granted to not extend South 16th Avenue to the end of the southernmost parcel currently owned by GRT Eldridge Properties LLC, as no development was taking place there at the time. The southern parcel is now being partially developed, basically with a parking lot, a very small portion of it with parking lot and a detention pond, I believe. And you can see the attached plans that I put on there for further details on that. I put a square around that area. This proposed is not to be extended. And that's on the same diagram as the sidewalk illustrations were. When entering into the development agreement with GRT Properties LLC and Railco, an agreement that was approved and will grant them $3.5 million in tax incentives. It was stated by them that other companies they do business with may have interest in relocating to this area. Also, while doing research for the creation of the new urban renewal area, the owners of the two properties to the south, Greenworks D LLC and Getch Land Corporation, made inquiries as to when South 16th Avenue would be extended. However, this is passive interest right now, as no parties have submitted any plans to develop anything in the area to the south. Staff opinion recommendation is they're getting tax incentives and we'd like to see the road go through because future land use says that 16th Avenue will continue south and there'll be industrial development in that area.
Well, typically, when we develop, we make the developers go to the property line with both streets and sewer and water.
Correct.
No. I don't see how this would be any different. So was the land dedicated as right of way there?
That I don't know. I mean, we'd have to. That'd be all part of the approval process moving forward here.
Okay.
I believe that. I can give you an answer to that.
How long is that, Jeff? Do you know, or?
Yeah, it's a few hundred feet. Our engineer estimated it to be at a $250,000 cost to extend it. I don't know.
Just to interject, our costs are, our budget numbers is
It's
higher.
quite a bit heavier.
Because the sewer is, it has to be changed all the
Yeah, and the sewer will probably peter out before it reaches the end of that road. I think going further south, there's probably gonna have to be a lift station in there at some point.
Well, there's Mr. Root in the room. Okay.
Yeah, we do have a right of way all the way to the head of the property line.
So Tony, if we had to run a main down there, would be a dead main at a certain point for a future lift station?
Yeah, we would recommend sanitary until it reaches the depth. Train station. Further south of it, up to that, then that one. I'll keep it with that.
3 foot or 4? Probably goes down 40 inches.
3. The manhole itself will be down. Probably. Hill line will be able to keep it.
Everyone's considering, we understand that we'll bear the cost of that when that time comes. But to preemptively put in a street when we're the most likely next developers of the adjoining lots at a time where that hasn't been designed seems like we're putting the cart in front of the horse.
I can understand your logic, but we also have past practices of taking stuff to the property line.
And I understand that, but the development that's taking place on this parcel is a parking lot.
I know.
That's already serviced by the road that's there. When we put the next $20 million building there, I understand we'll be required to put in the road.
It just seems like that we would. It seems like we would not be following suit what we have other developers do. Similar situations like that, which would be unfair to past developers or even future developers. If we were to grant this waiver, I guess that's my concern.
It was already granted. It was granted in 2000.
There was no development at all on that at that point in time.
I mean, it was probably when they put that road in to service the loading docks, which is the same road that is down there now, the drive.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
It's basically exactly the same road we did in 2000.
I'm still a fan of taking it down to the end, whether we give them 2 years to build that or not. We set up this as a growth area for our TIP plan to generate revenue to help offset the cost or the rebates in their business acquisition and expansion. Street in there will only benefit that area is development. So when's the first TIP rebate?
Improvements are supposed to be done for 2025, which would make the first rebate in 2026. Under the agreement currently.
That's an option. This has to be put in by the end of 2026.
Are you asking? That wouldn't be my preference, but
Well, I know.
I understand.
We're trying to find a middle ground.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
I think we're trying to do.
I mean, I understand. Not my preference. I hope we're developing a new building on that ground by that time, and we'll need it anyway, but you tell me where the economy is going and if interest rates are going to 12.
I too have no idea. But the city in the past has also gotten in trouble where they allowed people to construct things and the street wasn't through the property, and then the sewer that was put in was at the wrong elevation. So
It seems like we're kind of dealing with that now.
My point is, I think they need to put it in, but if we want to work with them, but 2026, October 31st, 2026 or something. Or November 15th, but it's at full construction here also.
There'd be a problem in another year past that, or that first year TIF, does that enter into?
Not impacted by the TIP incentives or agreements at all.
Now, the only thing it impacts is future development.
Yeah.
Which would affect the increase in increment. So eventually, because we had a maximum that we could pay over 10 years. So the more that develops the faster, we will pay that then.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, 2026, 2027. It has to be in at least by then, where if that develops, it's gotta be put in to future development.
I see if we're working 2026 would work for me. And then, if it has to be done sooner than that, they will do it sooner than that anyway. And at least we have a for sure date on it. And like I said, nobody can predict the speed and the rate of the development. As versed in legalities as you are, so.
Well, the sewer's important. Or put the sewer in. Gotta put the street in too, and know your elevations. Or at least have a design. You have sewers out through cornfields, right, Tony? I say it's 2026, and then we have to, council at the time and reevaluate at the end of 2024.
Is that your motion?
That's fair. That's my motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Reed, second by Peters. All those in favor of approving a delay in the assessment for the street and reevaluating in 24, the end of 24. All those in favor say aye.
Your Honor. My motion was they have to put it in by the end of 26. But they can always come back end of 2024. We can revisit it, but if nothing's done, they have to put it in by the end of 2026.
And it allows them to move it for them, and it allows to safeguard the city as well.
All those in favor of what Brian just said?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Discussion approval to extend free yard waste collection through December 11th.
We're gonna do E.
Yes. Discussion approve of the issue for the RFQ legal service for the calendar year of 2024. That I'll call you for that.
In your agenda packets, you'll see a request for proposal, a request for qualifications for legal services to be published and sent out for any attorneys or firms that wish to respond to be doing our due diligence before we appoint a city attorney in 2024, asking for full services that are available with each attorney and firm, with a response deadline of December 29th. And I believe we give them about 2 weeks to review those proposals, interview candidates or proposers if that's a desire of the council, depending on what we get back for proposals, and then making a selection to appoint city attorney or attorney firm.
The only thing I look at is request It's due back on the 29th, I believe.
December.
I misread that. Never mind. So they will give us hourly rates. And this,
So I requested a fee schedule for hourly rates and then also for any attorneys or firms that have a retainer option available, what the retainer would be and what services would be included in that retainer. With the proposals being due December 29th, I put a timeline of January 2nd to the 5th to evaluate proposals. January 8th to the 12th to do interviews with finalists if desired by council, and then being able to make a recommendation for the city council by January 15th.
and this is not an exclusive contract. We can still use any law firm we choose for different situations.
Correct, yeah, and that is in, the proposal here as well that's sent out on, and being able to work cooperatively with, the appointed city attorney being able to work cooperatively with other attorneys or firms that are performing specialized services for special projects.
Well, as somebody pointed out in, public comment, this is not Mayberry anymore, and looking down the line, it's only gonna get more complicated, so, I think this is a very forward-looking step and should move in that direction.
We haven't done this in a couple of decades. Not to say that our current representation isn't who we will go with, could be the most qualified. This is just a check and balance.
Yeah.
See, because
Do I hear a motion to approve the RFQ for legal services?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Peters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, the ayes have it. 7F. Discussion to extend free curbside waste and disposal through December 11th.
Has there been feedback from community requesting extension or all?
We haven't had any specific requests made at City Hall that I'm aware of, but there has been discussion of, with the weather being nice still, there's plenty of time left still that is farming and yard waste.
Yeah, I for one would not want to waste an opportunity to not, extend this.
it's December 11th, right date, or should it be December 4th?
What was it here? Start wasting the rules.
Bernie, I was just asking, is December 11th too long, or should we make it December 4th? Because that'll give us 2 more weeks. Most of the leaves are down now.
I think December 4th would be fine. I think after that, weather issues are gonna be, and I know I've been doing a lot of other things since it's good, and it's, like, well, when it's 35, I can still rake leaves and get rid of them, but if it's colder and snowy, I'm not gonna do it, so, yeah.
We don't want the bags full of white
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I just think a little extension there would be good. We've done that in the past, and I don't think we've ever had negatives or complaints from it.
Brian, did you be your motion?
We'll let everybody make that motion.
Make a motion, we approve the extended free curb yard waste collection, in light of the weather circumstances this year, till December 4th, 2023.
Brian, you seconded that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, the ayes have it.
Make the motion for adjournment.
Motion by second by Blackwell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, aye. Adjourned at 8:17.
15.
Okay, yeah, my clock don't tell me.
17, that's why.